one more question. Situation, I mean, in case if Hezbollah continues the attacks and if the situation escalates, adding another dimension to it, like as the day before yesterday, we had an interview discussion with Dr. Ephraim Menbar, who is the head of GISS. And he mentioned that Iran is more or less a step short of acquiring a bomb. So if that happens, definitely given Iran's intentions to annihilate a Jewish state, the Israel doesn't have a choice, maybe just to go for preemptive strikes or something like that. So if that is the situation, and if it comes to that state, what role do you see for the international organization? I mean, what can they do? It's open to all, like anyone.
I mean, look, I have lived in Israel. I've lived in Iran. I've done field work there extensively. Lebanon, Hezbollah territories. Right now, we're taking for granted. There's an assumption in this virtual room that Iran's priority is to annihilate Israel, and of course, it's made statements to that effect. But I think Iran's number one priority, or at least again, like Professor Bohrer or Professor Zvi said, there's distinguished between governments and societies. But I think the ultimate priority of the Iranian government is regime survival. Okay, and the Iranians understand that they have conventionally inferior capabilities, not just to the United States, but also to Israel. Which, by the way, if we want to talk about international law, is a government with a nuclear arsenal that has not signed the NPT, that has some extremist elements in its government. Okay, we have not brought that up. I mean, we have, to the extent that we've talked about the Israeli right. But in any event, as we see what Iran is doing, and I would also caution to say that Iran's proxies and partners, that it's a complex relationship, like every relationship. They do not just march to the orders of Tehran. Tehran does not just give these groups green lights. I mean, it does to some extent. We know that for years it has supported these groups, right? But these groups also have a say in what they do and don't do. Okay, so it's much more complicated than as we're seeing. Actually, these groups are set. They're firing off rockets and missiles, but they're operating, given the capabilities that they have, with constraint. And that is also part of Iran. That's why there have been conversations recently between, as we saw in Doha, between the Hamas officials and the Iranian foreign minister and other officials. So the Iranians, they want to inflict pain on Israel. They want to inflict pain on the United States. They want to inflict pain on global shipping, and send messages that they're not going to stand by just as this conflict continues in Gaza. But they're not going to cross. I mean, again, this is what the calculations are. This is not necessarily what the outcome will be, right? There's unintended consequences and outcomes. They're trying not to cross, for the time being, red lines that will invite a disproportionate conventional response and put this regime in Iran and put its partners and proxies in the line of fire and jeopardize their survival. So I think we should be very nuanced in the way that we discuss these things and the way that we think about them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Eric. And I hope that it goes as per the calculations that we have made, or the strategic community has made, and Iran doesn't cross that red line.